Ooh, I should put an earpiece in. It's a tough day today. And the struggle is real. Let me just start this by saying everybody was part of the struggle. Solidarity to you. Solidarity. Let me get my earpiece in. Did that just work? Jesus. Oh, no. I gotta check if that works. Alright, I think that works. I wanted to come do a live stream from this spot near my house. It's so beautiful. I always drive by it. I always see people fishing here. There's a bridge. I always see people fishing here. But I never stop. And today, just a brutal day. So I haven't really talked. Well, I mentioned last week on the live stream that I've been sick. My whole family got sick. The pandemic isn't over. It's been. Oh, what's up? South Heights Music. How's it going, man? Thanks for stopping by the live. If you're part of the struggle, solidarity to you. But so my whole family's been sick, right? Everybody's out of work, out of school, which is brutal. And when I wrote the teacher to tell her, like, my daughter's going to be out of school, uh, the teacher was just like, oh, it's going around. So this thing from the pandemic, which I'm not going to say the name because I don't want YouTube to mess with my thing, uh, they just acted like it was going around, which is devastating for my family because once my wife misses work, I miss work, and we have no guaranteed sick time, it becomes real dangerous. Like right now, massive stress about making rent, XYZ. So I was out of work for an entire week. And I get back to work today, and whoo, dog it. If you don't work like a wage slave job where you earn hourly, you might not know, but here in Massachusetts, we got to make at least 20 hours a week to get part-time healthcare, at least. And I come back, and this is now the second week in a row where my work has cut me under that, and I've explicitly told them like, "Yo, I need healthcare." Well, I live in a country where it's illegal not to have healthcare. The country doesn't give it to us. We're one of the only first world nations that does not provide healthcare for its citizens. Where are my tax dollars going? And and to get that healthcare, I have to work at this job. And now my job and what I was told, because I went right to talk to the manager. I was like, "Yeah, man, you're well versed with why I'm at this job. I need those hours to keep healthcare. Not to mention, by the way, I have two kids with pre-existing conditions, so it is vital not only to keep them protected from getting sick, but to have access to healthcare. I mean, we got our children's hospital appointment this month for my daughter, so I'm just livid. So I go talk to my manager. You know what the first thing my manager says? And by the way, just so you guys know, I work at the largest coffee corporation in the history of the world. The history of the world. This is a small mom and pop. It's not a startup. They make billions of dollars in net profit, not gross, net. My manager said, we don't let employees dictate their schedules. Okay, but there are people that they're asking to work more days a week. Meanwhile, the one dude who's just struggling to get by, just one of, I think the only people that gets healthcare from them is getting my shit cut. So it is absolute. It's not only that there's a rage that bubbles up, but it's setting up to beg for money. No, I don't beg for money, man. In fact, really, it's been God almost 20 years since I've had parents. I'm not here to beg for anything. What I like to do, South Heights Music, is share my story because I'm not the only one. And I'm a big advocate of sharing your story because too many people in this country like to chalk it up to just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And they don't understand that the system is flawed. There is a trap here. And that's the most frustrating thing is I don't have a car, so I'm very limited on my access of what I can do and what I can't do to get to work. I can't walk to work. There's no public transportation at that early in the morning. So really, it's very, very restricted. And if I got paid more, which is what I was saying earlier, is I'm one of the people at this coffee conglomerate that tried to organize, and we voted for a union, and we won, and they're fighting us in court. And when you are that person, I've becomes very clear that you feel like you got a target on your back. Because there are, like I said, there are other people who are not involved with the movement that are being asked to work more hours. So it just sucks. And I made that very clear with my boss. I'm very upfront with stuff. I said, it feels like I asked him, is there people above you that are trying to push me out? Because I got probably, I think he said today I have the longest tenure at the shop, and somehow this is going on with me. So it's just very, very frustrating. And what I was addressing to you, South Heights Music, is, even if you're gone, this is still important to get out there that more people need to share their struggle. More people need to talk about this stuff. Just like forever and a day, they would always tell you, don't talk about money, politics, religion. But if you don't talk about any of that stuff, then people aren't aware. And this is, I'm a big advocate for this, especially because I've watched it change people's situations. The knowledge helps them. And what happens is people start talking about how much they're making at work, which is federally protected. You are legally allowed to tell anybody you want what you make at work. Uh, that is a right by workers. So if a boss ever puts up a sign or somebody ever tells you, you can't talk about how much money you make, it's inappropriate. The older generations will 100% tell you like, oh, it's taboo to talk. No, that's maybe a cultural thing for them. But if you don't discuss with your fellow coworkers what you're making, then you're never going to know if you're underpaid or not. And I've seen this at not only my company, people who have been there 7 years were making 30 cents more than people who just got hired. People were, when I was hiring people, there were folks that were getting hired at a different time of the year and made $1 more. It wasn't they were working harder, it was just they got hired at a different time. So when you're open about this stuff, South Heights Music, it's not setting up to beg for money. It's about breaking down the system, the flawed, the corruption, how inherently exploitative. Is that a word? I think so. How it's meant to exploit us, and the only way we can get ahead is by sharing knowledge with each other, passing that along. And ooh, that wind is brisk. It looks like it's a nice day out, but let me tell you something. On this water, let me turn around and show you this view. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. Um, but when you share that knowledge with other people, not only are you empowered, but also you're not in the dark anymore. You're not worrying or wondering what the people around you are making. I've seen this happen where, man, in the nursing field, they started talking about. I kept encouraging nurses, hey, speak about what you make because I believe all the nurses are underpaid, especially after what we went through the past few years with the global pandemic going on. And once they started talking about it with each other, they found out that some of these veteran nurses were getting paid exactly the same as the new hires. And if that's not frustrating, if that doesn't show you that there is no loyalty, no reward for being tenured at a business, then I don't know what does. That was black and white proof. And these people then went in and asked for raises, and they did not get what they wanted. But there used to be a day and age where you were rewarded for staying a longer time at a company. And it's funny because in the news they spin it like, and this is why I think I'm calling these lives the class war, because back in what the 80s, 90s, the longer you stayed with the company, the more benefits, uh, the more everything you had. Choice of like working, better pay, et cetera, et cetera. And now what you see in the media is it's spun to be like, oh, em- employees are now job hopping. No one wants to stay at the same job. But the truth is, that's their narrative. And remember who is spitting out these narratives. These are corporations that are buddy buddy with each other that get money from the other corporations to pay their ad or to get paid to do ads. So of course the narrative in the mainstream media is going to be, oh, these kids are job hopping, they don't stay at a job no more. There's a great resignation. Everybody's going to get better jobs. But the truth of the matter, the real perspective from the working classes is there's no benefit to staying with the company. And in fact, once you stay with the company, you start sharing things with each other. You start to find out that you might even be punished. Some of these companies, I am absolutely sure that they are set up to have a large turnover rate to grind people out so there's no solidarity amongst the working class. So it's just frustrating to deal with that, to see that on a day to day. It is extremely angering. Uh, So today's just been sucky. So if anything, South Heights music, what I was really on here to say is, if you're somebody that prays, if you're somebody that sends out good energy, if you're somebody that does anything like that, I was going to say, could you do that for me? Uh, when I got up real early, real early this morning, like too early this morning, I spent like an hour just talking to God, just going at it with God. Um, just real frustrations, man, because it becomes scary when you're a parent and no matter what you do, you can't get by, and and the longer time goes on, the less you have to show for it, and if any kind of struggle comes up. We're just talking about getting sick and having to miss work. We have to miss work. We can't go in sick. They told me 5 days you have to be out, and we're forced out of work, and there's no safety nets in this country. You're just screwed. And there's no guaranteed sick time. So the system is broken. This is why I talk about it, hopefully to educate people, because there's a lot of people that live in a bubble. Listen, there was a girl at my work today who came in and said, I'm sick, just to let you know. She's another manager. And she said, I haven't tested myself. And I said, really? You should do that. She said, no, I just think it's a cold. No, in my head, I thought, it would be a good thing you're a doctor and you're not here. And you can just diagnose yourself. And I said, again, you should really get tested. And she said, well, I know you just got over it, so I just want you to know, keep your distance. So I went and I said, hey, I think we got masks in the back because she wasn't wearing a mask. I said, just to protect everybody else, you're dealing with food. You don't want to get customers sick. You're handing food and drinks out. It's really probably vital that you wear a mask. They're probably in the back if you want one. She said, no, I don't really like wearing them. Meanwhile, her nose is running. She's wiping her hands with her nose. And all I can think is like, there's so many people that in this country, they are just the main character of their movie and nobody else exists. There isn't any supporting roles, no supporting actors or actresses. And it just, never mind the rage I feel, but it's hurt. I'm hurt because I try to look out for people a lot. I believe a community is how our society functions best. And to hear this girl who's clearly saying, I'm sick, I haven't tested myself, and just going, no, I don't want to put on a mask, even though I'm serving customers food and even though I'm dealing with drinks and handing people stuff. And it was just shocking. Shocking. So today's just been a sucky day, man. Sucky day. I wanted to talk about Killer Mike getting handcuffed. I used to like Killer Mike, and now it's hard for me to listen to him. Um, and the other thing about that girl is, it's hard for people to care what I was saying about like when people are maybe living in a bubble or whatever. Because I've gotten into debates with people online about this, and they're like, you just live at home with your parents. You just do this to save money. And they say all these things where I'm like, what about the people who don't have that? So many people take for granted that they have parents to go move back in with. And this is a woman who I know, she lives with her parents. She doesn't have to pay for her own health care. She doesn't have to worry about getting health care through her company. She's got a ideal situation, which I'm happy for her, but at the same time, just zero regard for anybody who's in the struggle. Which hopefully people hearing this, maybe, I don't know, people might just not care until it happens to them. But you just hope sharing this and people maybe opening their eyes to it, especially when you got kids with pre-existing conditions and anything could really uh, go wrong in these situations. You would hope that if people hear this, they're like, oh, you know what? I didn't consider that. I understand it's hard to consider under other people. So many people are selfish, unawarely selfish. I am a lot of the time too. But if anybody ever came to me and they were like, "Hey, you're sick," and I got kids that could really be affected. I can't miss any more work. I wouldn't care putting on a mask. I wouldn't say, "Nah, I just don't like to do that." It just seems so. God damn, man, that hurt. That stung because I was like, "Yo, how are you not going to look out for your people?" You know, that's the American rugged individualism. I used to deal with that at my last job. Guys would come in bragging. I came in with 104 fever. I was almost dead, and I was like, "And you think that's like who patted you on the head for that? That you're bragging about that? That's insane to me." I said, "You understand? If you died in this studio, they'd roll you outside and hire the next dude. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't think twice." So let's talk about Killer Mike real quick. I don't know if this is part of the class war. I just found it interesting when I was up early this morning, reading all the news, seeing the pictures of Killer Mike going out of the Grammys in handcuffs. And let me ask you, does it show some kind of bias towards hip hop that at the Grammys, Killer Mike can allegedly get in an altercation with the security guard backstage and get arrested afterwards, released on his own cognition, and he has to appear at court at the end of the month, and then potentially faces a $2,000 fine or I think 6 months in jail? Which he won't. I mean, that dude's got lawyers for days. Stuff like this, we don't see rich people have punishment. There's no jail time for rich people. Let's be honest. Um, but that they arrest Killer Mike. But then what was it? A few years ago on the Oscars, even bigger than the Grammys, we watched Will Smith slap Chris Rock, and he don't leave in handcuffs. Like Killer Mike's thing was behind closed doors or behind the stage, backstage. Nobody really knew. I found one article on what had happened, that there was an altercation with him and the security guard. Not much has been covered on it so far, and this is like last night this happened. Um, maybe what it is the security guard wanted to press charges. He called the cops because we know Chris Rock wasn't doing that. But I just found it weird that that happens and he leaves in handcuffs. Maybe it was a publicity stunt. Maybe that's what it was. Um, but with Chris Rock and Will Smith, he gets to sit and enjoy the rest of the Oscar. Did he even win an Oscar at the end of that? So I don't know. Is that biased towards hip hop? What is that? Again, I was saying I don't like Killer Mike. He's got his motto, "Kill your masters," and he was tweeting one time, and I asked him. I said, "Does kill your masters also apply to capitalism and money?" And he said, "Well, I don't know. I guess we could go back to bartering." And I was like, "That's not the only financial economic system that there is. We didn't go from bartering stuff to capitalism." So I was real disappointed because he comes off as an intelligent person, as an organizer, as an advocate, as an activist. So it was really disappointing to see Killer Mike kind of do that. But I had thought him suspect for a long time. If you ever seen Killer Mike's Netflix series, Trigger One, I watched that and I thought it was so weird because all he was trying to do was work within the confines of capitalism. He always talked about Black Wall Street. And if you watch any clip of Fred Hampton talks about you don't want somebody to just be the best capitalist. You want to educate them so they don't turn into capitalists who just wants to exploit other people. That's how capitalism works. It just works. It works solely for the profit of the few. That's it. Every single business out here is not valuing customers. They're not valuing their employees. They solely function. Every business in this society we have in America, they solely function for profit. That's why they cut your hours at work. That's why you don't get the raise you want. That's why if they got to do layoffs, it's all to pad the profit. My proof is where I work right now. They said, "Oh, we're severely understaffed." That's the other reason why I don't understand why I can't get the appropriate hours I need. Um, Outside of it just being a power move, them flexing, being like, "No, this we call the shots." We get it. We're the biggest coffee corporation in the world. No one's testing that. I'm just saying. I thought you cared about the community. I thought you cared about your partners. If you do, yo, don't do this. Don't act that cold. I'm not asking, just even ask for a raise. I just don't want to lose my healthcare. Jesus. Um, by the way, I'm really trying to do this YouTube thing 5 days a week, so it would mean the world to me. I can't do it without you. So if you could hit the subscribe, like, leave a comment about your thoughts, especially about Killer Mike. I'm so confused about why that happened with Killer Mike. Was it a setup? Was it? Was it a PR thing so he could leave the 3 Grammys in handcuffs? Because, I mean, that gives him way more street cred than ever before, right? I guess we'll have to wait to find out. Who knows, though? Everybody thought the Chris Rock Will Smith thing was a setup. Turns out that was real. But that just looked fake. Um, I forgot what I was talking about. I'm so stressed. So stressed. South Heights music. That dude. Setting up to beg for money. No, but I could use some prayers if you're the praying type. I find so many Christians nowadays are the first ones to inflict their judgment upon others. It bums me out, man. It bums me out. Uh, I'm going to wrap up this live in a minute, but I am trying to go 5 days a week talk about things in the class war, share my personal life story, and that's all it is. You know, I don't know how it comes across, but really, I just want to inform people of the way workers are living out here. And it bums me out. I guess that's because our society is always set up. Well, if you look at our society is set up for people to have to beg for money, right? 'Cause nobody can get by. So you see it all the time. Even see millionaires, Logan Paul, those fools begging for money with their crypto scams, etc. I think it was some kind of percent, like the largest amount of not PayPal, what is it, GoFundMe, crowdfunding things is to pay for medical bills. How sad is that in America? That doesn't make you sad. That makes me horrified and devastated at the same time. Maybe if it hasn't affected you, that's why it doesn't impact you like that. But I don't know. Not only has it affected me, but even before that, that just seems so scary, you know? But Killer Mike, disappointment. You got a large platform and telling people to be the next Black Wall Street. We see how this Wall Street turned out, right? They ain't your friend. This Wall Street crashed the economy. This Wall Street turns people's lives into commodities. This Wall Street is nothing. And Killer Mike out here bragging about Black Wall Street. We don't need a Black Wall Street. We don't need a Wall Street. We don't need this economy to be based on finances and investments. We see how that's going. I don't talk to this is why I get confused sometimes too. When people want to, you know, get mad at me or say whatever to me, I go, are you not struggling? Do you not know anyone that's struggling? Do you not want better for them? Do you not remember the 80s? Do you not remember the 80s when you could work, buy a home, have a car, go to college? Do you not remember these times? I'm old enough to remember this stuff. Isn't it beautiful? Nobody said the class war can't have a beautiful setting. Look at the ice over there. That's how cold it is. And this wind stings. Stings. I don't know what that tower is. That's the other thing that bums me out. What does that say? Please take the trash when leaving. Of course. Give a hoot. Don't pollute. Leave it in the comments if you know who said that. You got to be pretty old to know who said, say, give a hoot. Don't pollute. Whew. It is cold. All right. I think I'm done with this live. I just needed a vent. Just a tough day. Just a brutal day. Frustrating. Aggravating. Wish you could do more to fix things. Feeling helpless. No vehicle. No savings. No nothing. So I'm giving it all for YouTube. Hopefully we could build an audience. We could build some awareness. Share your stories too in the comments, man. If you've had to deal with this, what it's like in your state. I was reading today that a bunch of senators are trying to beg the White House to decriminalize cannabis. So I guess they moved it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3, but who gives a shit? It's still a scheduled drug. And Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, a bunch of these senators, were telling the White House, like, yo, you got to decriminalize it. And this is something that the president had ran on. He campaigned on. We're going to decriminalize it. Another lie. Can't believe any of these politicians. So they haven't decriminalized cannabis yet. And this person on Twitter that I was tweeting with talking about how in Georgia he already went to prison into a labor camp for cannabis. And then he said he's going back. He's getting charged again for cannabis. And what's befuddling about that is that if he just crosses a state line, he's a legal adult. But in his state, he's a criminal. If that's not infuriating to you, if it's not infuriating that our government, the American government, since 2003, has had a patent on the medicinal qualities of cannabis, that it's well established that this is not some gateway drug, all the propaganda that they use to have a war on our minority communities, that it is a well-established medicine, and it's still putting people in jail, in prison, in state jails, in state prisons. That was just horrifying to think that this cat that I was talking with said he had to go to a prison labor camp for cannabis. And if he just lived in my state across an imaginary line, just across an imaginary bunch of lines, he he'd never had prison time. He wouldn't have a record. He wouldn't have a felony. I'm guessing it's a felony. I'm not sure what the charge was. He didn't tell me. But and then what goes along with any kind of those charges when they strip your rights. That's the one thing that's really infuriating to me. That they're stripping rights of felons that they can't vote. But if these felons are out of prison, didn't they serve their time? Wasn't that the whole purpose that they served their time? Why are they still being punished? Felons should be allowed to vote just like any person. These aren't people that broke out of jail. These aren't people that maybe they got their sentence commuted, but these are people who were punished, released from prison, and they're still being punished. They are not allowed to vote. I don't see the sense in that. I don't. It doesn't. I don't know. Leave it in the comments if you understand why a criminal who has done their time is not allowed to vote. Please explain it to me, because it just makes no sense. I can't justify it. Oh, I keep saying I'm going to go. And I can't talk about some of the stories I want to talk about. There's a bunch of interesting stuff also in the news. There is which I'm not going to go into this one because I don't know the complete story, but I'm dying to talk about this on the live. I wanted to have a friend on to talk about it because he's pretty knowledgeable about this happening before. But if you didn't see it in the news, there was a pigeon that was in prison, in jail in India. A pigeon. That's right. Like Mike Tyson's pet pigeon. I'm saying a pigeon was locked up in India. Now he's out. Hopefully not on bail. Hopefully he's just been released on his own recognizance. A pigeon. They were holding a pigeon. This is no joke. That's in the news. Don't Google it. So I want to talk about it, but I can't look up the story right now because I'm on my phone doing a live. Oh, there were some other things I want to talk about. I think I just needed a vent. Isn't that what YouTube Live is for? Just venting, talking about the downfall of an empire, American exceptionalism, the horrifying society that we're living in. All right. Check out this view. I really want to go down to Salem. There's a cool spot in Salem that I wanted to show. There's a nice little beach down there. And who knows? Who even knows how this sounded? Because this wind is cutting. It is burning when it blows on the digits. Oh, the other thing, real quick, I just seen because I was sick, so I had to find some stuff to watch while I was in a fever dream. If you haven't seen on Netflix Society of the Snow, it's the same movie as Alive. It's about the plane crash in 71, 72 with the rugby team, but they remade the movie. I seen it in 93, 92 when Alive came out, and that movie scarred me. I couldn't believe that was a real story, but they remade the movie and it's fantastic. So if you haven't seen it, check out Society of the Snow on Netflix. It's about that plane crash in the Andes Mountains, and it is gnarly. I still, to this day, I don't know if other people do this, but after I seen that, I had to Google interviews with the survivors, and there are those on YouTube too, and they are just horrifying what they had to go through and how they persevered and how they lost faith in God, kept faith in God. Just check it out. It's a great movie. All right, I think we're gonna wrap up. I gotta go look up South Heights music, see what he's doing over there. The bootlicking capitalist. He never has to beg for nothing. Not prayers, nothing. He's just got it all. He's pulled himself up by his bootstraps. Or maybe he's making music in the parents' basement. Who knows? I find a lot of these people that like to talk trash don't like to tell you that, they're living at home. That's always funny to me. But you know what? God bless you. And as soon as you're ready to join the class war and the struggle, we'll always welcome you. So I'll send a prayer out for you. Hopefully you get a little more compassion when people are coming in here to open up and vent and just talk about, having a brutal day. That's all I was going to do. In fact, one thing I will beg for is subscribe. It mean the world to me. That's the only thing I'll probably beg for right now is if you could subscribe. So South Heights Music, hit that subscribe button, man. You wanted me to beg for money, but Ain't gonna happen. I will beg for subscribe. I'm not gonna be like Mr. Beast and promise you a cookie. By the way, Mr. Beast, where's my cookie, man? I subscribed. False advertising, you're a liar. I'm calling you on that. You suspect. And by the looks of it, you owe what? Like 100 million cookies? You owe a lot of people cookies. Shout out to all the people who subscribe to Mr. Beast. You guys all want to get into a class action lawsuit because he would always say, subscribe for a cookie. Nobody's seen those cookies, at least I'm aware of. So if we would like to join in a class action lawsuit against Mr. Beast to get our cookies, chocolate chip, please, uh, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks so much for checking it out. I'm gonna wrap. How do? Oh man, there it is. I couldn't see it. The sun was too bright. Thanks for watching. Leave something in the comments, and if you do subscribe, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Uh, Also, hit the little alert so you know when I go live. I'm going to go live every week, Jeff. All right. I'm going to bring you news stories, things about the struggle, bring on guests to talk about their struggle. I didn't get to go over my news items. I usually have a list that there are 1 in 5 kids in America going hungry every single night. They're food insecure. For every homeless person in America, there are 28 empty homes. The leading killer among people 50 years and younger in America is the opioid epidemic and overdose. And what else is on there? Oh, if the punishment for the crime is a fine, it's not illegal for the wealthy. Solidarity to all the working class.